Good day, everyone. Today, I'm going to talk about major differences between what they call developed nations and developing nations. Now, I'm going to start with a little story about myself. When I was a kid, my parents used to tell me that if I study hard, in order to motivate me, they used to tell me if I study hard, they're going to send me abroad. Now, abroad, to me, was the UK, United States, West Germany back then, and so on. When I was a kid, I used to watch TV, and I used to watch these TV shows with robots and cartoons with flying objects, UFOs flying from outer space into Earth, and so on. So I used to always wonder, how come those people in the developed nations, they come up with these ideas, but I cannot. So I had some kind of fear inside that maybe I am not as intelligent as those people there. So by the time I grew up and I was in high school, I discovered that the level of intelligence is more or less the same with everybody. It doesn't matter where you come from, where you live, your background. God has given us the same level of intelligence, more or less. So then this fear that I had inside turned into some kind of a question. If people have the same level of intelligence, why do we have a group of people that are so creative, and they call them the developed world? Why do we have developing, and why do we have underdeveloped, where the level of intelligence of individuals are the same? So this question remained with me for a very long time, and I've been working on this question for the past 25 years, and I'm going to share a couple of major factors with you. Now, the simplest definition of intelligence is the ability to solve problems. Now, the more problems you can solve, the more complex problems you can solve, you are considered to be more intelligent. So as we said, level of intelligence with people is the same. So how come a group of intelligent people become developed and a group of intelligent people do not achieve that level of development? Why? See, when we face a problem, we tend to solve it. So if we take a sample, a random person from any developing or underdeveloped world, nation, and we give this person a problem, this person, because this person is intelligent, this person will tend to solve this problem. Now, if we take the same problem and give it to any person, choose a random person from any developed nation and give him or her the same problem, she will be able to solve it. So far things are equal. Now, what happens next is important. When people, one of the major factors that I found is that people in developing nations, when they face a problem, what happens with them is that they walk, simple. So if they face the same problem 6 months down the road, because they have the solution in their mind saved here, they might remember the solution, they might have to reinvent the wheel and think again. Now, if somebody comes to me and asks me about the same problem, if I have a solution, I'll try to remember something and tell this person. But I will not necessarily tell him or her the whole thing, because I can tell her what I remember. 7 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, I probably forget the solution. Now, what happens in the developed nations is that when people face a problem, after the solution, after they solve the problem, they stop and they ask themselves, how did I solve the problem? Then they put the solution into a sequence of steps. We did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, this sequence of steps, you can call anything. I like to call it a system. You can call it a methodology, a model, SOPs, standard operating procedures, whatever you want to call it. It's just a sequence of steps to overcome a certain challenge. Now, what happens next after developing the system is, again, very important, because this system will get documented. Now, there's a serious problem with documentation in some developing and underdeveloped nations. We have all the solutions, but documentation is not there. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back in a minute. So documentation, so we said that the solution in the developed nations, the solution is turned into a sequence of steps that we can call system. Then the system is documented. Then the next step is this system is branded, means this system is given it a name. So once we create a system, then we document it, then we brand it, the next step is commercialization. Means we take the system and we sell it. So if I face the same problem 6 months down the road, where do I go? I go to the system. If my friend faces the same problem 2 years down the road, where does he go? I just give him the system. If I hire 2,000 people tomorrow and I bring them to my business or my environment, they don't know how to operate, I simply give him or them, I give them the system. So everybody will follow the same system. Now if we go back to some underdeveloped and developing countries, because the system is not there, because the solution is in our mind, when we work in an environment for 20 years, we keep all the solutions in the head. Then when we leave, all the solutions leave too. So one of the major differences is that when we come up with solutions, we do not turn these solutions into systems. And by the way, when I say system, sometimes when I talk and I say system, some people think of automation. System is different than automation. When you have a system, you have a sequence of steps to do something. Now, this system could be manual, or you can bring in technology and automation to make the system faster. But without systems, you cannot have automation. Now, if we go back about the advantages of having systems, now if I ask you a question, where do you think you would waste more of your time? When you know exactly what you need to do every day, or when you need to discover every day what you need to do? Obviously, when you do not have systems, on the very far end, you would have chaos. So in chaos, you waste more time. Where would you have more conflicts? When everybody agrees to follow sequence of steps to do something, or when each person decides to do things based on his or her own opinion. They're not necessarily wrong, but they're just different. Obviously, when you have systems, you have harmony. When you don't have systems, you might have conflicts. And the third is performance evaluation. Now, when I have systems, it's so easy for me to tell people to follow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But when I do not have system, the performance evaluation, when I want to evaluate somebody's performance, is just going to be very subjective. I can only tell you, I like what you're doing, I like your job, I don't like what you're doing, but I cannot tell you exactly what to do to improve your performance. So again, as I said, one of the major differences is turning solutions into systems. And then if you have systems, you can have more harmony, you can have efficiency, and you can have objective performance evaluation, and so many other advantages that if we get a chance, we'll probably talk about in our next sessions. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.